I'm very happy now to introduce La Horde, the Horde, die Meute. It's a collective of 3 people. 2 came to Zwartz, Marine Brutti and Arthur Harel, and the third person is Jonathan Debrouwer. Marine is a visual artist. Jonathan, who is not here, is a filmmaker, and Arthur is a dancer, and they met, from what I read, in 2011, and they created this collective called La Horde in 2013. And in 2019, they took over the Ballet National de Marseille. It's one of the most important places for dance in France. And yes, they were very young when they took it over. They're still very young. So it is quite surprising that so young people take over such a prestigious institution. And one of the reasons, obviously, was that this prestigious institution was on the brink of bankruptcy. So they basically, what do you do if there's an institution that is falling apart? Well, you ask some young people, maybe they can do it. And actually, they did it. They really pulled it off. And not only this, but now it became one of the most interesting places for dance, for culture, for how to think about culture, and especially also how to think about inclusion. I think what they do is exemplary, and it's certainly certainly about unexpected impact that is happening there, and they say good things. So just say one thing I wanted to read to you. Nous avons, pour notre part, une très grande affection pour le mainstream et ce que l'on nomme le populaire. Oui, nous nous détachons des danses savantes, c'est certain. Nous sommes traversés par une pluralité de danses. Les cultures post-Internet montrent bien que l'on trouve des spécialistes dans tous les domaines et il n'y a pas de bonne ou de mauvaise manière de danser, de bouger. So, for our part, we have a great affection for the mainstream and what is called popular culture. That led them, by the way, to work also with Burberry or Madonna. And yes, we're definitely moving away from the professional standardized dance. We are a plurality of dances. Post-internet cultures made us aware that there are specialists in every field and there is no right or wrong way to dance or to move. So in this sense, you may want to look at this presentation as a form of dance. Thank you very much for coming here, and please give them also a big round of applause.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. Yes, we are the collective La Horde. We are 3 artists, Marine Brutti, and we have a picture of Jonathan. Jonathan Debrouwer, it's the third one of the collective. And yeah, dance, it's the principal subject of your work, but body in movement in general. Maybe it's dance for you, but body in the movement, it's more large. So I'm not fluent in English because I'm French, sorry. But I try to follow Marine on the big story of La Horde.
Yes. I'm quite fluent in English and I'm French too. So you see, both words can exist. So yeah, we wanted to kind of like let you go through our story to show you how we work and maybe how to work, one of the possibility of like working together. So as Daniel introduced us, we met each other when we were quite young. Jonathan and I were in art school together. We're doing les Arts Déco de Strasbourg in France. And we had been in like very different disciplines throughout the school with like scenography, video, graphic design even, or like interior architecture. And Arthur was going through, was younger than us. It's important because we also met like at a special moment in time where he was studying at the Conservatoire de Paris to be an actor, but also a dancer. And so when we got out of school, you know, there is like this moment when you're like a young artist, when you have no clue how you're gonna make your art exist anywhere. You don't really understand where to address, like you know where to watch. Like you go to theater, you go to museums, but you don't know exactly how to work. And so we started hanging out together, and we started to help one another. And we're joking about this at the beginning, saying we kind of have this like sentimental capital, like because we love each other, because we're friends, because we come from kind of like the same communities, queer communities. We connect and we talk about work. And after a while of like exchanging about each other's work, we understood that we were working together and that we were co-signing everything. And this lasts for 2 years before we created our house, La Horde. And for us, it was also like a systemic change kind of within our collective, because it was a way to create something that was like above us and something we will all become to be co-workers inside, you know, like really another structure that will shelter our three bodies. And so there was like always this like conversational thing between the three of us. And one of the main tools that we were using, of course, was internet. And at the time, it was also kind of like the beginning of like the Internet 2.0, the 2.0 internet, which is kind of a participative one. So it was the beginning of like YouTube. It was like accounts where we could have 72-hour long videos. And suddenly everybody became like a creator in a way. Had the capacity of like sharing videos, and we were discovering a lot of genuine arts on internet. It was kind of like a new era of discovering practices as well. And so Jonathan, Arthur, and I were exchanging a lot of videos, and we stumbled upon like hardcore dances, jumpstyle. And I think this is the most representative project we created that really shows all the process of working together. So we met a community online with people that were not living close to our house, with people who were not from our social circles or from like our community at all. It was a really young, cis, white male from like Ukraine, Poland, Hungary, also like quite remote villages from France. It was a very like rural kind of community, but also of like young men that were not really destined in a way to dance. And this is what like caught our eye, and we started to try and understand. And there was something very beautiful about the use of YouTube for them, is that they were filming themselves dancing and they were posting it online to reach their community and to have feedback from other dancers. And so all the comments were feedback of like, no, you don't put your ankle the right way. You don't put the flip is not going on the good side. And we got like immersed into this. And here we can see Kevin, Mr. Covan, one of the video he did himself, I think maybe like 15 years ago now.
Yes, 15.
And so we also love the use of YouTube becoming kind of like a diary, but also they were never erasing videos that they had started posting when they were 13. So they were very okay with sharing all the steps of them learning a certain dance. And so we reached out to them and we proposed them to shoot a film together. And I think it was interesting because the medium helped us kind of like create a moment where we could be working on a project all together. And so at the same time, we had met like a curator that was in charge of the Biennale de Design in Saint-Étienne.
Yes.
And he was like, oh, there is like this big abandoned factory that is completely empty and we don't know what to do in it. Young artists, again, are really like reached out for like impossible like situation. But when we saw it, we were like, oh, it's interesting because it could be the perfect situation to invite the dancers in, because it looks like an industrial church or chapel, and maybe it's going to create like the perfect frame to capture their essence. And so this is when we shot Nova Siri, which was like one of the first movie we created together. And so, tu veux le montrer un peu?
Ouais.
This is like a little extract of the film that we shot in 2015. It's 10 years ago now?
Yes.
Yes.
Ça charge.
And so with this film, same thing, like it became kind of a tool because video is something that can be quite light in terms of production. And so we sent all the this video to all the festivals we could find online, and it actually reached out like a lot of like people, and we could like meet more and more people from the art world that were interested in our work or displaying our work. Voilà. And then what happened is that after this film, we had created a connection with the dancers, and we told them, what about maybe dancing on stage with us? And in the beginning, they were not really for the idea. They were like, this would be the weirdest place for us to dance on, which was already like an interesting position. We're like, okay, how can we create something together? And so we applied for an open call, which is kind of like a concours, which is Danse Élargie. And Danse Élargie is a very beautiful proposition by Claire Verlet, the director of programming at the Théâtre de la Ville in Paris, and Boris Charmatz, who is an incredible choreographer and dancer, and who wanted to open the theater to different forms of dance and expression. And this is when we started to create like a 15-minute performance with the dancers to present on that stage. And so it was also something that was very particular for this dance, because you have to understand these dancers know each other online, but sometimes like they've been knowing each other for 10 years without meeting in real life. So we really brought together soloists who knew each other online, but had never shared the same room physically to dance together. And it was very interesting because even like in the start, when we were talking to them about creating like a duo or a trio, whatever, for them, the vision of a duo was like a split screen with two people dancing the exact same dance at the same time. And so when we had to bring all these soloists in a room, we had to, again, get to know how to work together, how to make space for each other's vision, place for like discussion. There was already also like a lot of like different languages, and most of them were not speaking English as well. So we had to go through Google Translate, like from Polish to Ukrainian to like a lot of like misunderstanding as well in terms of lost in translation stuff. But I think it had allowed us also to kind of like create a meta language, and we had to rely on the body so much and on the dance so much and how we behave in a space and how we take a space together, that dance kind of became a necessity to be able to bond with one another. And so we created this dance, and we started to go on tour with the dancers. And what happened is like, because we were spending so much time together, our algorithm started to be the same. So what we were experiencing at that time, is that like on YouTube, we had proposition to watch like Georgian dances when we were never looking for it in the start. And it's through a conversation with the jumpers that we started to talk about these like traditional dances. And they were like, oh yeah, we watch a lot of those videos to work on our spins. And we thought it was very interesting that they would rely on a very traditional dance to prepare for their new kind of like post-internet dances. And so this is where we're kind of like, let's follow like this serendipity that can happen online. And we don't know at the time, like we didn't know yet the power of the algorithm, but we could already like feel it in our daily experiences. And so we went to see Claire Verlet and we said, okay, this is like a new dance that we're interested in. It's not new, but we're newly interested in it. And she was like, okay, just go to Georgia, just go meet the dancers and do the thing. And so same thing happened. We first reached out to dancers through like social media. And we went to Georgia and had the exquisite experience of like discovering the culture, the dance, and the food, yes. And then something even more magical and meta happened is that we discovered like a very strong underground culture. And we discovered a new vision about like techno music and the spaces and the underground like spaces it could create. And this is also how we discovered Bassiani. And like a lot of things happened while we were working there with the ensemble of Iberoni, an ensemble of dancers. And so we got into this like very special place that is very close to our heart now, which is Bassiani. And Bassiani was really like an heterotopia, you know. It's like these spaces that are described often by Foucault that are non-spaces where you can question your humanity, you can question social classes, you can question the politics, you can question the freedom of your bodies, the freedom of movement as well. And we discovered this incredible community, we experienced like a very troubled time as well, because you have to understand when you get to a place where you have so much mixity, meaning that you could be with like sons of oligarch, but also students, but also unemployed people, also homeless people sometimes, but gay, queer, trans people, like all of this little world in a completely free space, in a free zone where nothing bad ever happens. So it was kind of like an utopia that can be very scary, I think, politically. And this is how, like, one day, the military actually entered the club and just arrested 300 people that went straight to prison. And we knew a lot of people that were in this club that night, and we knew also, like, we also know, like, the founders, and we were very shocked because it was very close to heart, and also it was kind of like this utopia that was taken away again, and we were very sad. And the response from the Georgian youth was absolutely stunning. What they did is they actually used dance they used dance to say that they were not happy against their government. And so they went in front of the parliament and they did like a 3-day rave. And because dance is not supposed to be aggressive, it was not like seen as something too rebellious. It's also an art that is really appreciated in Georgia. Like most of the kids have been trained at the Surishvili Ballet, or like have been learning the traditional dances. So it's a language that is a language of beauty, grace, and peace. And so the police could not really like fight against the youth for that. And so what happened is like kind of crazy as well, is that the government actually apologized and released everyone but one DJ, Georgie, who continued to create music in prison and became kind of like the biggest techno icon of the country.
Je fais le chronomètre parce que Daniel
pardon.
D'aller vite.
Oui.
Il faut qu'on parle du ballet, mais je passe un extrait de Marine Bassiani.
And so this is the show that we created in collaboration with the Iberoni Ensemble. And so it's a mix between traditional dances that are recontexted in a wedding where both the husband and the wife don't want to really get married. And then we get into this world where we see these like dancers able to embrace their tradition and their heritage, but are also able to get like in like a more contemporary movement and make the link between like tradition and modernity, saying that we can still value our heritage without being like too conservative and staying open with like new concept and ideas. And
En 2019.
maybe, yeah, in 2019, what happened is like we went from this Georgian ballet to our ballet. And I think it's kind of interesting in our work how every project leads to one, like to another, with no really like objective, but just like a thirst for like curiosity, I guess. Like we love to stay curious and open-minded and try to open spaces and discover like different ways of like working again. And so there was an open call for the Ballet National de Marseille. And we were the only one not invited to participate because people, because I don't know why, but people saw us as like anti-institution artists. And so it's fun now that we're at the head of an institution ourselves. But yeah, we were not invited, but we thought we could give it a try. And maybe what we created first was a manifesto, because we're like, you know, like important people are going to read it anyway, so we can say what we think about dance and what dance can be today. And I think to make it like the shortest possible, we were kind of saying dance is not this or that, it's this and this and that and this and that. And we were trying to bring something more horizontal to the vision of dance and something that was less classist and less vertical. And so then we took over the ballet, and what we discovered was an institution with like an administration, but when we came, there was like only 7 dancers left. And so we had to recreate like this special community. And for us, it was also like a very different way of engaging, because normally we love to use our work to meet people and to engage with communities and to discover like other cultures and to see how we can appreciate and talk together and create something together, and represent like a meeting between artists and like different communities or culture. And so here we had to create kind of a community from scratch. And so we did the audition, and we had this project of Room with a View in mind already. And so we were kind of like casting for this new show that we had in mind. And it was amazing, I think, because again, we took over the institution by having to create something artistic. So we really arrived in September 2010 and 2019, sorry, and we presented our first show in March 2020. So it was really like getting there, getting to work, creating something together, and presenting it to the world. And if I can reflect on the new vision that we have now with the dancers, is that because we've been working with them for 5 years now, it's not like just like a meeting. They have become our collaborators, and they are the thinkers of the body, and we are getting deeper, I think, in the philosophical kind of aspect of dance, working with them. Voilà.
Et là, on fait le Louvre. Non, non, non.
Ah
Là,
non, yeah, sorry.
Non, non. Ah merde, 0.
Zero.
Bon, on fait le Louvre. 2 minutes more. Le Louvre, et après,
Yeah.
on est bon.
So
Et pardon, Daniel.
it's an exercise. Huh? We've been like seeing everyone going through it before, but it doesn't help. So yeah, all the projects that we created, like with the ballet, which is also like a lot of like politique territoriale. There is like the most recent one where we were invited by the Louvre to perform for one night in January. Quoi?
Non, c'est bon, c'est bon.
C'est bon? And maybe, yes, okay.
Vas-y.
So yeah, so I was talking before about Room with a View, the first show that we created with the ballet, and after that we created a show called Age of Content. And Age of Content was kind of like questioning how like form and recipient can influence one another. And we were interested in how bodies be so represented, especially dancing, you know, on platforms like TikTok, or weird movements that could be created in GTA, or like different like platforms like video games and so on, would influence our behaviors in the real world. And so we started to study with the dancer, because they're such like experts that they really can embody a lot of different movement. And we started to decipher a little bit like all these new platforms and representation of the body. And this led us to create a show that is called Age of Content. And then when we were invited in the Louvre to create like a live performance with like 10,000 visitors that came through that night, we were kind of like, okay, let's make it full circle. Like, we've been studying video games, social media on dances, post-internet dances, viral dances. We've been questioning this in the studio with our favorite collaborators, the dancers. We created a show out of this, and now what if we create a live, meaning that like all that influenced us in the first time, it's actually the first time that we create a live on social media, which is kind of weird because it's one of our like most used tool. But like, it was the first time that we wanted to see what it would create to put back this transformed artwork back into being a content. Voilà. So you can see a little bit of the live, but I think
it's Daniel, I'm sure. Okay.
Voilà. And maybe what we wanted to share with you today as well is a special ritual that we have with our collaborators. Every time we have to take this stage, or we create like a performance, or we're gonna start like shooting a film, we create this moment of connection, which is called the circle. And this is where we hold like each other's hands, and we can also have like a vision of like who is working at the technique, who is working at the lights, who is working at the sound check, who is the director of the theater, who the dancers are. And this is a moment where we share the space, we understand where we are, who we're with, and we give like a little bit of strength to our team before the show. And then we make a breathing exercise and we shout. And we wanted to kind of like invite you, if you're okay, to share this moment with you before we go into the Q&A. Is that fine?
Let's go. Maybe make a big circle. Merci.
We can
make a big circle with us.
Daniel?
Dan, give me your hand. Okay.
You want to come? Vas-y. Ah, attends. Touc. Tu veux qu'on descende peut-être, non?
Non, non. Everybody have a hand? Okay. Okay. Okay, so for us it's an important moment, but I think I see it fragile, and it's really a tradition for the art live, and it's a moment for a connection, for say thank you for your work. Dance, it's the most beautiful job in the world at this time, because the world is so deep, and the dance, it's a moment for just bring together in the silence. Yes, so thank you for these 2 days. We learned a lot with this talk. And yes, it's the moment when we take this circle with Jonathan and Marine to propose of the dancer to talk. So for us, it's the moment for the Q&A.
But maybe, yeah, before again, it's true that like Trajal is here, and we wanted to remind everyone, every time we can, we want to remind everyone that dance is a very, very, very fragile art, and that it takes a lot of very passionate people to blow on its ember to keep the fire going. And so it's very important also for us to be able to be here today and speak about our work. So thank you so much for this. And yeah, before the questions and answers, we're gonna do this breathing exercise.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's a most funny part.
And don't be afraid, like you really have to shout, okay? So first you're gonna breathe.
And close your eyes.
And close your eyes.
Please close your eyes and...
Don't cheat.
Open your eyes. Okay, let's say 3, 2, 1, and shout together. Yes.
You can get this one, I think.
Cut the... Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Dan. Yes, it's okay. Oh, yeah, you need to
On se rassoit pour le Q&A?
Yeah.
Okay.
Use a Q&A like this also,
Merci.
we can see one another.
Oui. Enchanté, Maya. On est ravis. Mais oui.
Bonjour, Maya.
Ouais. C'est un plaisir.
Ouais. Ah ouais.
Ouais,
On adore la fondation. On est venu à l'ouverture aussi. C'était génial. Donc, ouais.
C'est formidable.
I'm sure everyone is interested for the Q&A, so please take your seats again.
Yeah, so maybe there are questions. Nevertheless, although you have given all your energy, if you have questions for Marine and Arthur, please do so. Yeah, here we go.
Why? Pourquoi est-ce que l'article de la Horde, là, est mis entre parenthèses? Why is it put into brackets?
I think, do you want me to translate it in English?
Non, elle a
Tu l'as
en
dit
anglais aussi. Ouais. I'm not fluent, mais je comprends.
Pardon. I thought it was in French anyway. Yes, so if we're being very transparent and honest, I think in the start it was something that we found was interesting in terms of graphic design. But sometimes you have intuitions like this that transform into meaning. Like, I think we're like big fighters of like non-binary. And so it makes sense that we had put this la within parentheses because it was gender oriented. And I think it's kind of now of like something we reflect on, being like, we don't know how we had this idea before when we were not completely like, aligned in our minds about these ideas and politics. But now we're very like happy that it stays this way.
One more question over there.
Yeah, my question is about Georgia. The political situation kind of changed in the last years, and I wonder if you're still in contact there with the people, and how is the situation now with the government being like changed and this, kind of pro-Russian things moving in. How is the situation there right now in terms of dance and culture of the youth?
Yeah, the situation it's really complicated at this moment in Georgia, and the show it's on tour already, and it's an interesting question because it's not your country, but because right now the post-internet situation, post-colonial and post-industrial, on the work of Loud, it's super important to have an opportunity to questioning about appropriation culturelle. And it's super important to say it's not, c'est pas notre guerre, mais parce qu'on a rencontré des gens avec qui on a travaillé, ça devient aussi notre famille, et que chaque communauté qu'on rencontre, c'est une communauté qu'on apprend à connaître, et il y a une fiction qui se crée en nous, entre nous, pour porter peut-être de nouvelles possibilités et de nouvelles réponses.
It's something where we're always trying to be very clear of like who we are and where we speak from and whether we can speak for them. So of course we're like in deep support of like our friends that are resisting the war end because there is a war. Like Russia is pushing borders every day a little bit more to occupy more territory, and then there is like a lot of friction politically also because it's going to be like a very important geopolitical situation. And there is also this vision that is very Eurocentric, where we believe the Georgian would love to be a part of Europe, which is something that is just, they need it just to kind of like protect their culture at the moment. So what we do is like we use our like connection as much as we can. We try to not make it like a public posture kind of, because this is not where we want to stand. We want to help, but like it has to go through like different ways, especially with Georgia. And we relay their story, which is also a start. And it's true that like we're eager to keep this tour going with this show, because it's also like a place where they can travel around the world and meet people to tell their story and to kind of like comment tu dis, sensibiliser, like to get to people to feel how they feel. Yeah.
Make aware.
And maybe I could just add one thing. So
Yes, on Georgia.
my last exhibition is at Kunsthaus Zurich is dedicated to Levan Chogashvili. He's a very important Georgian artist, and I'm daily in contact with my friends in Georgia, and it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, and I must say, is Europe not playing a very good role? They're basically cowards. So I think Europe has to wake up to help to really stand behind these people, because they're going to be taken over by Russia, basically. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Hi, I'm from Istanbul, but I have also roots from Georgia. So it's quite, I'm really impressed, because Georgian ballet is really beautiful dance that also you enlighten people about it, informed about it. But the situation, as I said, in our geography, like Turkey, Ukraine, Syria, since the beginning of the 2000s, a kind of complicated politically, and because of the wars. So it's so important that you support the artists in that, because artists in that regions are paralyzed a little bit because of the problem. I know, sorry, I'm excited. I know a lot of jazz singers, a lot of artists that are stuck. The creative process is a little bit stuck in the moment. So it's really good that you are giving a hand to all of that. Them from France, Switzerland is so valuable. I would like to thank you.
Thank you.
That.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we leave it here, but what you definitely can see just now is what kind of impact culture can have. Is actually one thing we all often forget. It breaks isolation. Culture, art, dance can break people's isolation, and this is a very important thing to do and not to forget about. Thank you very much.